Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today, wherever you may be, and in whatever time zone. I'm Benjamin from E-Tabs, and I'm joined by Jude Olinger from the Olinger Group in New Orleans. Thank you very much for your time, and we'll get started. A little bit of background information about E-Tabs for those of you not aware. We've been around a long time now. Seems like ages. And we're the leader in sort of data visualization, dashboard, and particularly automated reporting and charting solutions for the global market research industry. We won a number of awards over the years, both within the industry and quite prestigiously Her Majesty the Queen's Award for Enterprise, and enjoyed our day trip or evening trip, I should say, to see Her Majesty at Buckingham Palace. We have offices in London, not surprisingly, that given my accent, that's where I'm based. Mainland Europe, North America, and Auckland as well. And this way we can provide support to our clients around the clock, wherever they are and whenever they might need us. I'd like to introduce Jude, CEO of the Olinger Group. Hey Jude, it's great to have you online with us today.
Great to be here.
Please give us an introduction to the Olinger Group and what you specialize in.
Well, thanks, Benji, for inviting me. I think it's interesting that you said about been around for ages, because I started my business in 1994, so just right around the same time. We're an ad hoc custom research firm, mostly dealing with Fortune 500 clients primarily. Do a lot of healthcare, financial services, hospitality work. The logo on here, the CERC ISO 27001 logo. We have that certification, that data security certification. So anyone who's got sensitive data and their ability to be able to share with us is someone who we try to work with, because we can service them very well. And we also can pass their vendor risk assessments. Based here in New Orleans, so our clients are primarily North American headquartered, but do work all over, and that's us.
Great. What initially triggered you to consider auto charting?
So it's interesting, because I'm always, as the CEO, I'm always looking to see what can we do better, how can we improve, and one of the things that I found to be, it's not just in charting or in reporting, it's always looking for ways we can have assistive technology that can make things more accurate, be done more quickly, and deliver a better product. And so I'm always scouring the landscape, typically at conferences, but elsewhere in the business, I'm looking for areas where I think we can find assistive things that can help us improve, and that's kind of how it came to be that we were looking for help with charting.
Right. Great. Very progressive. What made you choose E-Tabs?
Well, tell the story. I'd met you many times. I've known you many times from conferences and such, trade shows. And I asked around to other research friendly competitors how they were doing things. And I kept hearing about another particular piece of software that we gave a try. And my hesitation had always been that, we're an ad hoc custom shop. Most of the time when I get approached by these things, they're really for repeat tracker type things. And anyway, we gave that thing a try. Didn't quite work out. And you very boldly came up to me at a trade show and said, hey, we should talk again. And, one of the things that had been resistance was just trying to get people to buy in here in my organization to these things, because I always come with ideas, and they're like, another idea. It sounds like more work for me. Kept pushing it though.
How did you overcome that pushback?
Yeah, quite frankly, I just demanded that we take a more serious look, and I demanded. I kept persuading and working internally to say we should really try something. I know there's tools out there. We should give them a try. And one of the things I think that was different was, seeing a demo or hearing about it on paper is one thing, but actually getting and using the tool. So I guess what had happened, if I recall correctly, is you guys gave us a trial, and because it's such a lightweight thing, it plugs into PowerPoint. It wasn't we have all the security for our IT, and when we implement new things, it becomes a thing and a thing. And this was not a thing and a thing. It was a very simple deal. We went ahead and activated it and put it on. And I think the proof was in the pudding, that, and then having Ellie do one-on-one training with my analysts to be able to walk them through and show them how it could, within our own data and our own information, not just some hypothetical.
Yeah, that we get that feedback quite often. Like you said, the proof of the pudding's in the eating. So you've got to try it whilst you're eating your own cake, not the cake from the bakery down the road that's guaranteed to taste good.
Exactly. So that became, I think, the resistance that we had towards it. And, pretty quickly, once people realize it can make their job easier and save them time and effort, then I think it's much quicker or easier to get adoption.
Right. So it was well perceived by your staff at that point.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
It was well perceived by your staff at that point.
Well, I think, yeah. So once they see it, like you said, eating your own cake, right, and they get a chance to be able to see how it can help, and then you get them to really try and use it, and it's successful, and then it's like, wait a minute, hey, this is really helpful, right? And then adoption happens pretty quickly.
Right. That's great. That's great. You're now ISO 27001 certified. How did that play a part in your evaluation, if at all?
Well, every time we look at anything related to data, generally information within our firm, everything has to be looked out through the lens of a security situation. And does it create a security weakness, or is there risk involved? And I think that the thing for this was that there's no data that's being transferred to a platform, right? It's your thing inside of our existing system. We're not giving you guys access to any of our data. And so that made it a lot easier. And the fact that I didn't have to install something and go through this whole review of you guys, or have to, do a big documentation update of policies and procedures, was hugely helpful.
Right. So it's quite smooth. That's good. That's good. I understand your staff had also been using our visuals plugin for like data-driven infographics. How's that going?
That's going really well. In fact, I did a little quick call out to the researchers to ask them, what they thought about both products. And Graphique visuals was something that I heard a lot of positive feedback on. Infographics and data visualization and how you present things to people, I think, matters very much in getting their attention and having them pay attention to what you're telling them. When I started in the business, we would give people word perfect, wordy reports. We'd have word perfect. We'd Frankenstein in some graphics, to try to make it. But people paid attention, and they were not getting bombarded with the information that they are now. I think that it definitely plays into, and oftentimes it plays into the theme of whatever we're presenting is. So you've got all this iconography. We try very hard to make it so that it gives the information and not in a visually appealing way, and tells a story, and that's very helpful for us.
Yeah, and very helpful for the clients.
Yeah, because they see numbers all the time. They see charts and graphs all the time, right? The more it can tell the story, and the more appealing it is, it catches their eye, and they're actually going to pay attention, that you can actually get a chance to communicate the story, the better.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely. What would you say that the tangible benefits that resulted from your decision to auto chart?
Well, I think that the tangible benefits are more productivity, less error from any kind of transcription of data, copying and pasting of data. Oftentimes, not that it's not the same as if you're doing manual entry, but it just makes, to me, at least from what I'm hearing from them, and I'm not a user, right? I told you that up front. I'm looking at it from the level of what does it do for us as a company, and I feel like it frees up valuable resources, because people are not doing, inane work that most of them, I've never met anyone who just loves doing things like that, right? It's kind of like coding open-ended comments. I've never met anyone who loves coding open-ended comments. I've never met anyone who loves having to screw around too much with charting. So it frees up those resources that are very valuable for us for higher and better use of their time.
Right, right. Nice. Nice. All right, thank you. Well, let's have a look and see Graphique in action now. So I think your insight has been really helpful. What is Graphique and how does it work? So Graphique is essentially a plug-in extension within PowerPoint, as Jude just mentioned. And as we'll see in a demo in a few moments, it's embedded within the native PowerPoint environment, allowing you to open up your banner tables or even SPSS, SAV files, and immediately start pulling the data you need into a PowerPoint presentation. You can use all of your own favorite PowerPoint templates, chart types, and formatting preferences. And there are no limits to the number of charts and objects on any given slide. And furthermore, as we'll see in a moment, you can pull data into a range of infographics too. Once you've pulled the data into those charts, they still remain completely editable. So let's have a look and see Graphique in action. Once installed, Graphique appears as a toolbar embedded inside PowerPoint. We start by importing our data tables, usually from an Excel file created by most analysis tools. A handy sort of table of contents lets you then navigate through the tables and questions. Once you've selected a question, you'll see a preview of the data in this data grid below. From this grid, just simply select the data you wish to chart and then drag it onto the slide. You're able to send it directly into your choice of a table, chart, infographic, Excel objects, or even into a pre-saved object in what we call the object library. I'm going to choose to populate a simple pie chart, but I could easily choose from any of the many standard PowerPoint charts on offer within PowerPoint natively. You can see that the chart remains editable as well. So I can open the data sheet and if necessary, make any adjustments to the chart, change the chart type, change the data, labels, and so on. We can also repopulate an existing chart. So let's change the dummy data in this bar chart to the right with real data and labels. You'll see that my banner table contains both frequencies and percentages. I'm really only interested in the percents, so I can set a filter to remove the unwanted frequencies and blank rows, as well as round the decimals to whole integers, just by clicking. Now that's cleaned up, let's select the 5 countries I wish to chart and drag them onto the existing chart, replacing the dummy data that was there previously. And there you go. Note that Graphique also has pulled the stat testing automatically into the labels. I'd also like to include the base values for each column. And it's as easy as that. Now, how about automatically inserting the question text onto the slide? There you go. Let's put the question at the bottom of the table. You can put it wherever you want, really. How about sorting and re-ranking? Well, that's easy. Using the sort wizard, you can. Oh, sorry. I just jumped ahead of myself. We're adding now the Switzerland column to the right-hand side of this existing table. Now, how about sorting and re-ranking? That's easy. Using the sort wizard, you can dynamically change the order of the rows, sorting them in ascending or descending order, and even forcing a specific client brand or response to the top, in this case, Smart TV, and keeping others, or don't knows usually, to the bottom. Just applying that now. So great, I've done that to the United Kingdom chart. Now, what if I now want to do exactly the same thing to the other charts on this slide? Keep those sorted in the same order. So we simply click on Read Label Order, and then apply label order to those other charts. Give it a few moments, and you'll see France and Switzerland follow suit. You can see how Graphique is driving PowerPoint, as if I'm doing it manually, essentially, but I'm not. That's a real time saver. So this is just a brief introduction to some of the core features, but there's more to help get your charting done quicker. The Graphique Studio provides special add-ons which extend the functionality. Batch production of the same slide across different questions, stat testing, refreshing entire depth of new data, and conditional formatting. We'll have a look at refresh in a moment, but first I'd like to highlight just how Graphique interfaces with visuals that Jude mentioned. Let's choose a different question for now. Select our total value of 33.5, and instead of sending it to a chart object, I'll send it into an icon representing Wi-Fi. You can see the icon is now being filled with blue to that value. Let's also drag a new value onto this repeated icon object, and magically, we now have 81 of those icons filled with blue instead of 100. Here's a summary of the different types of visuals that are possible to populate. Proportionally filled images, that's what we just saw on the previous example, logos, pictures and icons, and you can even import your own client logos as well. Repeated images, we saw that as well. So depicting a percentage as a repeated set of images out of 100. Proportionally sized images based on percentage values. So male indicating 70%, the smaller female showing 30%. We can do gauges and dials where a needle or pointer indicates the value out of a range. We can also use international maps, automatically highlighting states, regions, or countries. Using conditional rules, these can be filled with color or labeled with indicators or values for the different states, different countries, and so on. Conditional signals that adjust automatically based on values, and that's great for like warnings and highlighting changing KPIs and values. Pictographic bar charts and even word clouds, all driven automatically from the data. So I mentioned refresh before. The refresh add-on allows you to start your reporting process earlier on in the cycle. So mid-field work with dummy data or interim data. So you can get the whole shell ready and get a feel ready for what the final deck might look like. But more importantly, because you're doing it on dummy data, you're able to do it on dummy data rather, you can save time at the back end, the final end of the reporting cycle by doing most of that donkey work during field work, which of course means you can deliver your reports to the clients and stakeholders quicker. You can basically repopulate any object that was originally created or populated with Graphique, so it remembers those objects. And finally, I find it helpful as an insurance policy as well. I call it insurance policy because imagine you'd been up all night. This is a totally fictitious idea, but you'd been up all night getting your PowerPoint deck ready for your client meeting the next morning, typing away all by hand, and then 8 o'clock in the morning you get an email from DP saying, "Oops, sorry, I sent you the unweighted data by mistake. Please use this weighted data instead." Well, you'll never get that deck done by hand in time for your 9 o'clock presentation with the client. But if you've got your insurance policy, you click your magic refresh button and load in your new data, and your whole deck is now updated with that final corrected weighted data. Let's have a look and see how that works. So the data of the charts on this slide was previously pulled in via Graphique from interim data. And now that the final banner tables are available, I want to refresh all those charts with the final data. I clicked on the refresh button and selected the new source files of Excel. Graphique now processes that deck, going from object to object and slide to slide. And as you can see, the charts are all being repopulated and adjusted one by one. Graphique also places green and red markers to indicate which objects were actually modified at the time. Those are the red X, and usually text boxes that were inserted manually and therefore ignored during the refresh process. That's finished refreshing. And when we're happy with the results, we can just click on remove markers and all those markers will go away. But they're very handy as a reassurance to know which objects have actually been repopulated. And away they go. That's a short taste of how easy Graphique is to use. Quite literally, with access to your banner tables directly within PowerPoint. And there's no more flipping back and forth between Excel and PowerPoint, copying and pasting. No more of that sort of data jockeying. No need for manual sorting and rearranging of data rows. And increased confidence in your reporting with reduced chance for error. We also saw the optional refresh add-on that can be leveraged for even greater time savings on your reporting, and visuals too that can be used to spruce up your decks with great data-driven infographics, again, as Jude had mentioned. To summarize, what else can we help you with? We're always available. Contact us. We're happy to talk about your projects. We've just taken a look at Graphique, which is our solution to assist in charting and storytelling on real ad hoc projects. However, for repetitive types studies like trackers, multi-market, multi-category reports, which are more demanding, we have the E-Tabs Enterprise product, which will literally bring a smile to your face as you watch entire decks, even the most complex ones you can imagine, being populated in a fraction of the time and effort of doing it manually. This works for Microsoft PowerPoint, Word, and Excel, as well as Google Slides and Sheets, which is new. And we also offer a fully hands-free service where our own dedicated team can automate your projects on your behalf. We also looked briefly at visuals for data-driven infographics to transform your data into powerful, more visually attractive stories rather than just traditional charts. And this can be used standalone or integrated with Graphique and Enterprise too. We offer a full online dashboard creation service too, taking care of the setup, hosting, security, admin, and updates for online reporting requirements. And finally, we now offer a cloud-based extension to Tableau and Power BI and other dashboard products that don't natively offer great PowerPoint outputs. So they can now interface with our cloud server to extend capabilities to generate fully editable and branded PowerPoint exports that the clients really appreciate. So thank you for your time today, and thank you, Jude, again for your great input. Hope everyone found this helpful and thought-provoking. We're going to have some time for Q&A now. So please type your questions into the chat box, and Jude and I will be happy to answer those as they come in. If you have any questions, visit our website, send me an email. Happy to set up a call with you. Oh, there's a question for Jude. What is your staff's biggest challenge in reporting?
There are many. One is trying to figure out what the client really wants from it.
Right.
But I would say one of in order to avoid rework is being able to quickly get stuff out of SPSS as quickly and as accurate as possible into the reporting, so that we can then start messing with it. Because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to use our talents and our abilities to do the analysis and the actual what does this all mean, more than just the mechanical putting data into a PowerPoint type of thing. So and the other one I think is visually representing things that make it interesting enough that people will pay attention. I said that one before with visuals. I think that's a big one, because if it just looks generic and blah, people treat it as such oftentimes.
Right. Yep. Somebody's asking, what is the cost? So Graphique starts from $1,000 per user. Then you can add visuals, you can add refresh. Happy to continue that discussion offline. It will depend on volume that you need. Another question for Jude. How does E-Tabs work well for your ad hoc projects?
So, the whole thing when we were evaluating, or when I'm evaluating assistive technology, is there's a lot of things out there that are meant for, trackers, workflow type things where you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. We have we have trackers ourselves, but the bulk of our business is this ad hoc type of work. And so being able to find tools that help in that is much more difficult and harder. And so, I think it works. I think it works best of class, because I've not found anything that works as well, nor is as affordable as E-Tabs for us, for our particular use case. Obviously not the same for everyone, but I think that was the appeal to it. And as you pointed out in your demo, the fact that it just works natively in the Microsoft, for us, it's PowerPoint, and uses SPSS data and Excel and all those kinds of tools that we use. made it so it wasn't we didn't have to alter our workflow or our process to be able to make it work for us.
Right, nice. So it's like a very natural fit.
Yeah, I'm a fan, Benji.
That's great. We love you too, Jude. Thank you.
Why I'm here.
Next question. What do our clients see when they receive a PowerPoint report that was created with Graphique? Do they also need to have Graphique installed? Good question. So they will see, no, they do not need to have Graphique installed. So it's only you that needs that as the guy or the person populating the charts. Your clients will receive a PowerPoint deck that's completely standalone. And from their point of view, you may well have populated it by hand. It's a normal native PowerPoint deck. No need for anything else. Likewise, even with visuals, if you've created the infographics using visuals, your clients will see those infographics. They won't be able to edit them though. So only somebody with visuals will be able to edit visuals that they find in a PowerPoint deck. Next question. What are the main differences between Graphique and your other report automation solution called Enterprise? Okay, yeah, good. Bit more of a paragraph needed for that than they might have time on this webinar. But basically, Enterprise is designed for repetitive type projects like trackers, like multi-market studies, copy testing, anything where you've got like a standard template that you need to populate over and over, but also at the same time be able to handle nuances and variances, like variances on brand lists between markets and on trackers between countries and all the rest. So Enterprise is way more robust, way more designed specifically for those more demanding types of projects. But happy to take the rest of that question offline if anyone wants to speak about that separately. Another question. When using the refresh feature, will any sorting using the sorting tool also update if the data changes? Yes, it will. So Graphique remembers what you had done previously, let's say on the interim data, let's say you had sorted it. It will then reenact that sorting as it's doing that refresh stage. It's pretty clever. Yeah, and also respect when you'd put your client brand at the top, the smart TV, and the others don't know at the bottom. It'll replay that based on the new data as well. Can I put in data from more than one Excel file? Yes, you can. So you don't have to have all your tabs in one file. You can have multiple files. You might have norm scores in one file and tabs in another. Then you can actually, when you did the file open at the beginning, chose a data source, you can have more than one open and pull from as many as you want at a time. So you can have a chart made up of data from lots of different places if necessary. I think I have time for one, maybe two more questions. We don't have banner tables, but we have an SPSS SAV file. Can you import that? Yes, we can. We can actually pull directly from a SAV file. And there's a sort of brief import process where you choose, if you like, to create the banners that you need from that. And then it's treated like any other banner table that you imported into Graphique. And I should also mention that the Excel files, the tabs, and the SPSS, if that's what we're using, that it only appears to be embedded in the PowerPoint. It's not physically in that file, and therefore it doesn't bloat up the file size or anything like that. Only you see it when you're using Graphique in order to pull data from that. And last question just came in. Is it possible to share the library of charts and slide types centrally across a team? Yes, you can. So you can store that on your network drive, for example, and other team members, or OneDrive even. You can all share that, and therefore all be working from a common library of slide types and charts. So unless there's anything else the audience wants to ask, we'll wrap up. Thank you very much, everyone, again for your time. Stay safe, stay well, and stay automated. Thank you, Jude, again.
Thanks, Benji. Have a great day.
You too, thanks.